Good morning, everyone. It's so quiet, we could hear a pin drop in here. It's so quiet, it's like I just want to keep working. But with that, welcome to everyone here in Assembly Judiciary. Those of us here in Carson, I don't see anyone in Las Vegas, but I imagine there are plenty of people watching online through Nellis or through the legislative YouTube channel. And so with that, Committee Secretary, please take the roll.
Assembly members Cole. Here. Dahlia. Here. Gonzalez. Here. Gray. Here. Hanson. Here. Hardy. Here. LaRue Hatch. Here. Marzola. Present. Moore. Here. Nadeem. Present. Orenlicker. Here. Roth. Here. Urich. Here. Chair Miller.
Here, thank you. And with that, just a few reminders before we get started. Please make sure you turn down your electronics. Also, today we have a lengthy work session, and then the second item on our agenda will be our public comment. Again, asking that anyone who calls in to make public comment today, please keep their comments to 2 minutes each, and make sure that you state your name and say it clearly for the record. The phone number will be 888-475-4499, and the meeting ID today is 811-670-66784. And with that, we will go ahead and begin our work session. So I will turn it over to our policy analyst. There are some changes being made even since some of these items were printed just a few moments ago. So please pay attention, and if we have any questions, we will respond to those, okay? With that, let's start with our first bill, please.
Thank you, Chair Miller. For the record, Cesar Melgarejo, Committee Policy Analyst, and as nonpartisan staff of the LCB, I will note that I can neither support nor oppose any of the measures that come before this committee. And the first bill on the work session today is Assembly Bill 63, which revises provisions relating to civil actions for wrongful convictions. It was sponsored by this committee on behalf of the Attorney General. And members, just as the Chair just mentioned, there has changes. And so for this bill, the only amendment that's being proposed for motion is the amendment from the AG's office, which is amendments number 1 and 2 on the work session document. Thank you.
Members, any questions? So, giving you a moment to process that. So there had been a few amendments that had come since the hearing. And at this time, those amendments will not be accepted. The only amendment that will be accepted would be the conceptual one that was a part of the hearing. And yes, this hearing was at the very beginning of session. So if you just remember based on what was proposed during the hearing. Any questions? Not seeing any, I will take a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Assembly Member Gonzalez. Any additional questions or comments? All right, I'll take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. With that, I will go ahead and assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Moore. You're welcome. Next, please.
Thank you, Chair Miller. For the record, Cesar Melgarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Next bill is Assembly Bill 65, which revises provisions relating to guardianship, sponsored by this committee on behalf of the Nevada Supreme Court. There is an amendment that was submitted by John McCormick, which proposes amendments to remove provisions authorizing fingerprint-based background checks for guardians, focus investigations on guardians' ability rather than suitability, streamline service and proof requirements, eliminate Medicaid notice requirements in minor guardianship cases, and prohibit fees for assessing certain records by court investigators. And Chair, that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? I have a second from Assembly Member Gonzalez. Any additional questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Hanson. You're welcome. Next, please.
I think, Chair, for the record, Cesar Margarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 88, which revises provisions relating to juvenile justice, sponsored by this committee on behalf of the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Judiciary. There is an amendment proposed by Angela Knott and Catherine Maher to propose amendments to reinstate the requirement for district attorney approval for informal supervision in cases involving gross misdemeanors or felonies, and to amend NRS 626C.230 to remove references to NRS 62C.200 in provisions relating to juvenile courts to dismiss petitions and refer children for informal supervision. And Chair, that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from LaRue Hatch, Assemblymember LaRue Hatch. Any additional questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. Okay, I see Assemblymember Hardy, Gray, Cole, Urick, and Hanson. And with that, the motion passes, and I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember LaRue Hatch. You're welcome. Next, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Margarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 91, which revises provisions relating to parole, sponsored by this committee on behalf of the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Judiciary. And there's an amendment proposed by Chair Miller, which is to replace the term second look parole with second look review, make the board's considerations of prescribed factors optional rather than mandatory, and revise the factors the board may consider when deciding on second look reviews. And Chair, that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second. Second from Assemblymember Gonzalez. Any additional questions or comments? Not seeing any, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, I see Assemblymember Hardy, Gray, Cole, Urick, and Hanson. Thank you for that. And with that, the motion passes, and I will assign the floor statement to Assemblymember Gonzalez. You're welcome. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. Cesar Margarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. For the record, next bill is Assembly Bill 111, which revises provisions relating to certain traffic violations and sponsored by Assemblymember Hivitz, and there are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to do pass. I will accept a motion from Assemblymember Urick and a second from Vice Chair Marzola. Members, any additional questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. Assemblymember Urick, is it okay if I assign the floor statement to Assemblyman Hibitz? Thank you. And so you're welcome. Thank you. With that, you have the floor statement. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Margarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 162, which establishes a statewide database and internet website for certain criminal records relating to domestic violence, and was sponsored by Assemblymember Urick. Assemblymember Urick did submit an amendment, which is to prohibit disclosures of a person's residence or employment, require defendants pleading guilty to domestic violence charges to be informed of potential database inclusion, reduce the waiting period for database removal petitions from 7 to 5 years, limit database criteria for convictions of 2 or more domestic violence offenses, and ensure only verified criminal history records are used in the database. And that's all the amendments.
Thank you so much for that. I would just like to say that often already in pretty much half these bills that we've already passed, that, amendments are still, even as this morning, coming and changing, and sponsors doing everything they can to get their policy in the best position. So Assemblyman Yurick, I really appreciate the work that you put into this to get it to this place, but also recognizing, again, some of these things are just happening, and recognizing that often with stakeholders, we still need more time to continue the work with it. So I am going to go ahead and actually would like to move this bill without recommendation, because I know members haven't had fully time to process this as well, so that we can keep this bill moving, send it to our fiscal committees, but give the stakeholders and our sponsor an opportunity to continue work on that, okay? But again, I do appreciate your continued work on this, Assembly Member. So with that, first I should ask, any questions or comments on that? Okay. Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to refer out without recommendation. So moved. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? I have a second from Assembly Member Cole. And with that, the motion, all those in favor? Oh, no, you're not voting. It moves. Okay, we're done. All right. Any additional comments or questions? All right. Thank you so much. And I will sign the floor statement to Assembly Member Yurick. Thanks so much. Next one, Assembly Bill 167.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Magarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Assembly Bill 167 revises provisions relating to the use of corrective room restriction, and is sponsored by Assemblymember Hanson. There is an amendment that was submitted by several of the county departments of juvenile services, which propose amendments to remove all changes introduced in the bill and revise NRS 62B.215, subsection 5C, to clarify that the 24-hour review of a child's corrective room restriction status is specifically for assessing the need for mental health or therapeutic support. And that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion by Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? I have a second from Assembly Member Gonzalez. Any additional questions or concerns? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, with that, the motion passes unanimously, and I will assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Hanson. You're welcome. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. Cesar Magarejo, Committee Policy Analyst, for the record. Next bill is Assembly Bill 245, which revises provisions relating to firearms, and was sponsored by Assemblymember Jauregui. And there is an amendment that was submitted by Assemblymember Jauregui, which proposes amendments to exempt certain shooting activities from restrictions and establish a Category B felony for selling out semi-automatic rifles or shotguns to individuals under 21 with reckless disregard of their age. There's also an amendment submitted by John Jones, which proposes adding language to clarify penalties in subsection 2 of section 1, and that's all the amendments.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Assembly Member Nadeem. Members, any additional questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. For the nays, I have Assembly Member Hardy, Gray, Cole, Yurick, and Hanson. And with that, the motion passes. I will sign that floor statement to Majority Leader Jauregui. Next bill.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Magarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. The next bill is Assembly Bill 272, which revises provisions relating to forensic medical examinations, and is sponsored by Assemblymember Hardy, and there are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to do pass. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Assemblymember Gray. Any additional questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. I will sign that floor statement to Assemblymember Hardy. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Margarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 302, which revises provisions relating to criminal procedures and sponsored by this committee. There is an amendment that was submitted and proposed by Michael Broett, which proposes to authorize courts to permit facility dogs in certain proceedings, establish safeguards modeled on Washington state law to protect defendants' rights, revise the definition of facility dog to include certification standards, remove public access provisions for facility dogs, and allow court-ordered access to courthouses and specified buildings, and grant local governments immunity from liability related to facility dogs. And that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Assemblymember LaRue Hatch. Any additional questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. I have one nay from Assemblymember Roth. And with that, the motion passes, and I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Ornlicker.
Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Margarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 309, which revises provisions relating to certain orders of protection against domestic violence and sponsored by Assembly Members Hardy and Hibbets et al. And there is an amendment submitted by Assemblymember Hardy which proposes to replace affidavit with written response, limit responses to indicate whether the order is contested without requiring explanations, and clarify that incarcerated parties must follow facility-specific procedures for submitting responses. And that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Assemblyman Urick. Any additional questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Hardy. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Margarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. The next bill is Assembly Bill 351, which revises provisions relating to the jurisdiction of the juvenile court over certain offenses, sponsored by this committee. There is an amendment that was submitted by the Nevada District Attorneys Association, which proposes amendments to grant juvenile courts limited jurisdiction over certain serious offenses committed by individuals aged 13 to 15, require clear and convincing evidence for case dismissal or transfer to district court, consider delays and evidence reliability in transfer decisions, and apply the bill's provisions to offenses committed on or after October 1, 2013. And that's all the amendments.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola and a second from Assemblymember Cole. Do I have any additional questions or comments? Not seeing any, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Cole. You're welcome. Next, please.
And next bill in the work session is Assembly Bill 384. For the record, Cesar Margarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. So this bill revises provisions relating to juvenile justice, sponsored by Assemblymember Cole. And Assemblymember Cole did submit an amendment to establish, to delete all sections of this bill and instead establish the working group on wraparound services, focusing on identifying and supporting services for juvenile justice involved youth and their families, partnering with evidence-based reentry and training organizations, and reporting findings to the interim committee of the Assembly Judiciary. And that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Is that a second from Assemblymember Gonzalez? Okay. With that, any additional questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. I will send that floor statement to Assemblymember Cole. You're welcome. Next, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Margarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 416. And this bill revises provisions concerning access to certain library materials in public schools. This bill is sponsored by Chair Miller. And Chair Miller did submit an amendment which proposes amendments to expand the bill's provisions to include public libraries and institutions of higher education, prohibit restrictions on library materials by various entities, limit petitions for removing materials to parents of enrolled students, protect employees and volunteers from retribution related to library material decisions, and define library employee for coverage under the bill. And that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass.
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzullo. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Assemblymember LaRue Hatch. Members, any additional questions or comments? Not seeing any, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And I have a nay from Assemblymember Hardy, Gray, Cole, Urick, and Hanson. And with that, the motion passes, and I will take that floor statement myself. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Margarito, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 451, which establishes provisions for voluntarily placing temporary restrictions on the possession, custody, control, purchase, or acquisition of firearms. And this bill is sponsored by Assembly Members Howdagi and O'Neill. The sponsors also submitted an amendment, which was discussed during the hearing of the bill, which is to replace the bill's original provisions with a new language establishing limited civil liability protections for licensed firearm dealers and local law enforcement agencies that enter into voluntary firearm hold agreements with firearm owners to securely store firearms as a suicide prevention measure. And that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzullo. Do I have a second? I have a second from Assemblymember Gonzalez. Members, any additional questions or comments? Assemblymember Yerk?
Thank you, Chair. I want to just go on record and say I fully support the intent of this bill of addressing this very important issue of suicide. I do have a couple of concerns that we had talked about with the bill sponsor. Along with a couple of my colleagues, are going to vote yes, get this out of committee with the understanding that there is a commitment to address those lingering concerns. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And I know that I've spoken to both bill sponsors as well. And sometimes this is just what happens when a bill's presented so close to deadline, right? That it seems like it's in a rush and it seems like things, but because we agree on the concept, we want to keep the bill moving and alive, and we still have time. It seemed like we only had a few days, but actually we have like 60 days, right? So we can try to keep it alive to keep working, but I know there's a commitment from, and we have one of the bill sponsors here, if he would like to come up and say anything. But yes, as opposed to a bill we heard a month ago, I appreciate that.
A month ago?
I said opposed to a bill we heard a month ago, where there's plenty of time to work on things. When we hear bills the last week, we're in a different rush. So
Last day. No, I appreciate it, Chair, and you stated it very well, and I understand Assemblymember York's position and other colleagues. We are going to keep working on it. It was just the time we have is I'll try to schedule something actually for everybody next week. So thank you.
thank you. And do you mind stating your name and spelling it for the record?
You're absolutely right. Assemblyman P.K. O'Neill, District 40, O-N-E-I-L-L. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Assembly Member. And with that, any additional questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, and the motion passes unanimously. I will assign that floor statement to Assembly Member O'Neill. Thank you. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Margarito, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 488, which revises provisions relating to criminal convictions of certain victims, sponsored by this committee. There is an amendment that was submitted by Chair Miller, which proposes removing the requirements for courts to appoint counsel for petitioners. Additionally, there's an amendment by Tia Smith of the ACLU of Nevada, which suggests amendments to streamline petition procedures, clarify court actions for vacating judgments and sealing records, expand definitions related to trafficking victims, and ensure the bill applies to petitions filed after its effective date. And Chair Miller, that's all the amendments.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second from Assemblymember Dahlia. Members, any additional questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. Okay, I have a nay from Assemblymember Hardy, Gray, Urick, Cole, and Hanson. And with that, the motion passes, and I'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Dahlia. You're welcome. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Magrejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 489, which revises provisions relating to civil actions, sponsored by this committee. There is an amendment that was submitted from Martin Fitzgerald, which proposes amending Section 3 to apply the bill retroactively to wrongful deaths caused by homicide, allowing civil actions previously barred by expired statutes of limitations to proceed under this new law. And Chair Miller, that's all the amendments.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Assemblymember LaRue Hatch. Any additional questions or comments? Not seeing any, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. Okay, the nays are Assemblymember Hardy, Gray, Cole, Urick, and Hanson. Thank you, and with that, the motion passes. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Ornlicker.
Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Next bill, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Cesar Magrejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Our next bill is Assembly Bill 503, which revises provisions relating to the utility wire, and sponsored by the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs. There are two separate amendments that were submitted for this bill. The first one was discussed during the bill hearing from Warren B. Hardy and Shelley Capurro, which proposes to expand the bill's scope to penalize tampering with infrastructure, redefining critical infrastructure and property, and revising preferences to use utility wire regulations. The additional amendment came in after the bill hearing, which is from Paloma Guerrero and Angela Knott, which proposes changes to adjust penalties based on property value or weight, remove community service penalties, and prohibit overlapping charges under other statutes. And that's all the amendments.
Thank you so much. And before we go to questions or comments, Assemblymember Torres Fawcett is here to make a few comments.
Thank you, Chair. And I do accept the amendment. We've had many conversations. So the amendment that the public defender submitted, in addition to the amendment that we presented at the hearing, is a demonstration of significant collaboration from both sides to get us there. Thank you.
Thank you. And member, can you state your name and spell for the record?
Assemblymember Torres Fawcett, TORRES-FOSSETT.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions or comments? Not seeing any, I will go ahead and entertain a motion to amend and do pass. So moved. Thank you. Do I have a second? Second, I will take a second from, I think, Assemblymember Cole. So with that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. I will sign that floor statement to Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Thank you so much. All right, I believe that concludes our work session for today. With that, we still have a public comment. So we will go ahead and move on to public comment, beginning here in Carson City. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to make public comment?
Tanya Brown, TONJABROWN, Advocates for the Inmates and the Innocent. We want to personally thank you for the hard work that you have done during this legislative session. And if something should come your way on the Senate side dealing with the state bar and prosecuting attorneys dealing with exculpatory evidence, withholding of evidence, please consider some of the information that we have provided to you over wrongful convictions. And keep it in mind that prosecutors should be held accountable for their actions. The State Bar of Nevada, according to retired Chief Justice Cherry, had stated that prosecutors won't prosecute district attorneys or prosecutors when they've withheld evidence, and they should. They must be held accountable for their actions and not a slap on the wrist, and they must be disbarred. Should any of this come up, and if not, in the 2026 interim committee and 2027 legislation, please consider this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else here in Carson City wishing to make public comment? Not seeing any? I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. Broadcasting, will you please open the line?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now. Caller with the last 3 digits, 556, please press star 6 to unmute your phone. You may begin.
Anne Marie Grant, advocates for the inmates and the innocent. As a concerned citizen, I'd like to urge this committee to critically examine the composition of the Washoe County Conviction Integrity Committee, particularly the fact that its head is also the head of the Washoe Criminal Appeals Unit. This dual role raises significant concerns about the integrity and the objectivity of the committee's work, as it creates an inherent conflict of interest. How can we trust that convictions will be thoroughly and impartially reviewed when the very person tasked with overseeing this process is also responsible for defending these convictions? This situation undermines public trust and calls into question the legitimacy of the committee itself. This arrangement also raises serious concerns about the committee's ability to impartially review cases and uphold justice for those wrongfully convicted. It's imperative that we advocate for legislation that prioritizes justice over self-preservation. True justice demands transparency and accountability, and it's time for a reevaluation to ensure that commitment to integrity is more than just a facade. It's time for the Nevada Legislature to take a hard look at this farce that is called the CIC Committee and demand genuine reform that prioritizes the rights and the dignity of all individuals affected by wrongful convictions, including those that have suffered the ultimate miscarriage of justice and died in prison while wrongfully convicted. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
There are no other callers to provide public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we will go ahead and close public comment. I would like to thank the committee members for your hard work this first half of session with hearing and deliberating and, suggesting and everything we did to get all the bills to the place that we could in order to move the ones that we could. I'd really like to thank staff, because what people don't realize about staff is that when you see us leave late, they're still here for another 3 hours at least, at work processing and stuff. And, the people to my right and my left can tell you exactly how late we're texting every night. And even this morning, even since the moment I left my house this morning, things were still moving and changing. So we do appreciate all of you behind the curtain that may not ever be seen or named, but you just help this entire legislative process for all 3 million of us living here in the state of Nevada. So we truly appreciate that. With that, I will go ahead and adjourn. Which one? We are adjourning. I want you to hear that word. We are not recessing and doing all that. Right. No clapping in committee. So we are this isn't commerce. We don't clap.
Stand very quiet.
Right. We have competing chairs on the dais here. But with that, we will adjourn, and I will see you back at 9 a.m. on Monday, the 21st. So unless you want to come next Monday, but you'll be the only one here sitting in the dark. So we are not going to have committee next week. For those of you who understand how this works, we will have multiple and longer floors as we're up against House passage. So we're going to give everybody some time to refuel, see what, makes it through the houses. And we will most likely be back on the 21st. If anything changes, you'll know well before then. But we will not have any committee next week. So sleep in, and I'll see you soon. 21st at 9 a.m. Thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned.